So a really good friend of mine is coming over, and he's going to show me how to make liver and onions. I know, just the thought of liver and organ. But I've been doing a lot of reading about liver, and he is a fan of it. So instead of me showing you how to make liver and onions the way he does it, I figured why don't I just bring him over, have him cook for us and show us, and I'll be asking questions because I'm just as curious as you are about making liver and onions. So I'm going to make the side dish, which is a vegetable. I've put in my rice cooker a cup of brown rice and a cup of quinoa, and of course a little bit of the olive oil and some salt, and that's ready to rock and roll. And that way it's not too much of the brown rice. There's a grain there. They're both good grains, but of course I prefer the quinoa, which is a more healthier super grain. So I combine both, and no one knows the difference that they're eating a real good super grain along with the brown rice. But I'm also going to do a vegetable. So I'm going to make Brussels sprouts. He likes asparagus. Personally, I'm not crazy about it. So I'm going to make Brussels sprouts, and instead of me on the stove, I'm going to give him the stove, and I'm going to use the oven to roast these suckers. Brussels sprouts are really easy. Some people like them, some people don't. I've eaten them many different ways. The first way that I ate them was on the stove with some salt and pepper, and I really liked them. And I tried them again. This time I put them in the oven, and I enjoy them more in the oven, and it really is a nice vegetable that you don't have to worry much about. You let the oven take care of it. Have you ever seen how a Brussels sprouts grows? It's really interesting. I'm going to show you a picture. I just find it interesting that this vegetable grows like this. Some people call them little cabbages. Okay, I'm going to put some salt. There is no right or wrong of this recipe. Season to taste. To it, I'm going to add, yes, some pepper flakes. Have you noticed I like a little punch in almost all my dishes? Something spicy. And of course, I love my garlic powder. Can you put fresh garlic in it? You can. I've done it before, but the garlic does burn in the oven. So unless you're watching it, you might just want to stick with the powder. To that, I'm going to add some olive oil. Again, you can use coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, canola oil. I'm just going to use a healthier oil that in my family we like. And you have a choice. You can either use a spoon to mix or a good old hand. I'm going to use my good old hands. If you're trying to get your kids to eat Brussels sprouts or some kind of vegetables, my advice to you is make this and have them mix it up. And what you will see is most of the time when kids are involved in the kitchen, they're going to eat what they make. And usually that's what I tell my kids. I go, if you're going to help me, that means you also got to try it out. And they go, okay. And sure enough, they eat it. Pretty much, that's it. That's simple. So I have some parchment paper. You can leave it on a baking dish without parchment paper. Personally, I enjoy parchment paper. Number one is it's easy cleanup. Number two is, I don't know, for some reason I like it. It makes it easier. And if you have old baking dishes or baking sheets like I do, parchment paper helps. So basically what you're going to do, voila, distribute them evenly. Look how pretty they are. They're just beautiful. I can eat them like this. I'm going to stick this in the oven. It's at 350 like I said. I'm going to check on it. I'm going to check on the Brussels sprouts like around 15 minutes. And then I'm going to check it constantly. What I want to see is a nice little roast. I don't want to burn them because what I want is the caramelization of the Brussels sprouts. And I'm going to show you what that looks like at the end. Because some people look at the Brussels sprouts when they roast them and they go, it's burnt. It's not burnt. It's just caramelized. In other words, the sugars from the vegetables came out and decided to just dance with us. And they taste delish. So now I'm going to wait for my friend. We're going to make liver and onions. Well, he's going to make liver and onions, and I'm going to ask the questions. So join me, and we'll show you how to make liver and onions. steps. With me is Robert Young, one of actually my BFF for a very long time, and he made some liver and onions for me a few weeks ago. Now, I haven't had liver and onions, I'd like to say, in more than 20 plus years, and when he made it, it was really, really good. I forgot what it tastes like, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so I ate it. But when I took a bite, it was really good, and I thought, you know what? There's a lot of benefits in liver, which I'm sure there are, I know there is. It's just one of those things that either you like it or you don't. People tend to shy away from it, so instead of me trying to figure this out and how to show people how to make liver and onions, I figured, let me bring the expert and you and I can talk about it. Now, you told me a cup and a half of onions, or
right.
Okay, so I did that. I sliced them into rings.
Wonderful.
And some garlic powder, some fresh garlic, salt. We're going to use olive oil as your oil of preference. You have some steak seasoning. You said you wanted some arrowroot.
Yes.
And the wine is optional.
Correct.
Are any of these ingredients optional?
Yes, as you said, the wine is optional. I prefer using fresh garlic as opposed to garlic powder. That's just my preference.
Okay.
And as you know, if you've cooked with fresh garlic very often, I know you have, you really have to watch it on the stove, because if you're not careful, it'll burn real quickly. So that's one of these things. Fortunately, our dish today is going to have a lot of liquid in it, so we're not going to have to worry too much about the garlic burning, even though we're going to be, you know what else we need? We need some beef stock.
Oh.
Do we have beef stock?
No.
Oh, well, okay, well, we just have to do without beef stock.
So, hey, you know.
No problem.
All right, so I'm going to move some things around. I'm going to encourage, do you want wine with to make it with?
Yes, I would like that.
But it is optional.
It is optional.
Okay. I'm going to start moving things over because I want to talk about the liver.
Yes.
So as I'm moving things over, tell me, where do you get your liver and why?
Well, normally I get my liver from a local market, and instead of the big supermarkets. And the reason being is the big supermarkets, a lot of their meat is not grown without GMOs. You know, you get genetically modified cows and chickens and whatever, and it's not really good for you. They use hormones, they feed the cows corn instead of letting them graze on grass, which is what they were intended to do. Buy local because it's grown right here or in the area.
Okay.
And it's healthier.
And I do know that liver is pretty inexpensive, so it doesn't matter if
It's cheap.
So it doesn't matter if you go to a big market or a local organic grown market, meat market. The price are almost what? I think it's just $1 difference.
Yeah, it's very cheap. I mean, no matter where you go. Another thing you want to look at is there are two kinds of beef liver you can buy. There's the regular beef liver, and then there's calf's liver, and that really kind of depends on your own feelings about it and how you feel about veal and so on. Calf's liver, you'll find, has a milder flavor and comes out a little more tender. Of course, the portions are a little smaller, but a lot of people prefer calf's liver to beef liver.
The liver, when you bought it, it was very red. Had a lot of blood. I have to admit I was a little bit like, oh, okay, I'm getting wheezy here. And you immediately put it in cold water or warm water?
Put it in cool water, or cold water. And what you want to do is you want to rinse it out first, and then put it in a bowl and of cool water. And then once you've rinsed it out, let that sit for a little bit to let the rest of that blood get kind of pulled out into the water. We're going to pour this water out.
There's something to do with, as I've been brought up.
A lot of it's cultural, religious, or both.
But the liver is good. He knows how to cook it.
Before I do that, I do want to talk to you a little bit about the nutritional benefits of
liver.
liver.
Yeah.
Okay, liver is chock full of vitamins that are good for you. You've got vitamin A, you've got vitamin B12, you've got riboflavin, niacin, you've got pretty much B12 complex right here. I mean,
wow.
It is in excess of the federal daily requirement.
So imagine, some people either take a B12 pill, they either take a B12 shot. I can probably have this once a week, and I think I fulfill what, 2 weeks worth or 30 days
Yeah,
worth?
probably at least a week's worth. Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. So it's really good for you. It's very healthy and very nutritious. The only thing you want to do is make sure you check with your doctor if you have a cholesterol problem. You don't want to be eating liver all the time because even though it's good cholesterol, you're still getting some cholesterol out of this.
Okay, well, let's get started. Let's rinse
All
that
right,
baby
let's
up.
go rinse this out. Okay, as we can see right now, the onions are starting to get a little bit transparent, which is good. We're going to let them cook just a few more minutes like this on medium heat, and soon we will be adding our other ingredients. Alright, so we've let our onions cook down a little bit.
See, I like the way yours cook down. I mean, it's just really interesting. I sweat mine, and you just said, you know what? I'm not going to sweat them. I'm going to just cook them down slowly.
Yeah, I just prefer to let a little bit of medium heat and time do its thing instead of trying to force the sweat to come early. But that's just my personality. I'm not a force anything kind of guy. So what I'm going to do now, I've got the onions about where I want them. I'm going to add a cup of beef broth.
Can I do that?
Absolutely. Be my guest.
Now, if you didn't have any beef broth, what could you use? Seriously.
Well, if you don't have beef broth, you can use vegetable broth.
Okay.
I prefer beef broth because what you want to do is enhance that beefy flavor in the liver.
What about bouillon powder, bouillon cubes? Can you use that or no?
In a pinch, if you must, you can. I don't recommend it because for two reasons. Beef bouillon cubes and powder tends to be very high in sodium.
So how would you dilute it then?
You would just add it to, let's say, a cup of water or so. Or
Okay, no,
whatever.
that's good to know.
Another thing is because bouillon does tend to also have MSG, which, it's AKA dextrose, maltodextrin, and about a dozen other names that food companies tend to kind of hide the fact in. So we've added our beef broth, and what I also like to add into this is the wine. I want to add a little dash of wine, red wine. Now this is some Merlot, but I would say I'd add about maybe a quarter of a cup of wine.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now I oftentimes use red cooking wine instead, and this is a really nice. This gives it a little nice flavor to the whole thing. So I'm going to let this cook a little bit more till it comes to a boil, or at least starts bubbling on me.
You want to put the...
Okay, let's go ahead and put the cover on it here.
Okay.
And we'll just let that go for a little bit, and we'll come back, and then we're going to add our beef liver.
Cool. I checked the onions. The pot's a little bit boiling, so what do we do now?
I'm going to just take a look at it, and let's see. They're still cooking down. It does take a little while to cook down. You just want to make sure that you keep a good amount of liquid in the pan, because otherwise things will start to burn. We definitely don't want that.
Okay.
And of course, we want enough liquid also for the liver to be able to absorb all the flavors in here.
That's true.
And speaking of, what we're going to do now, while things are moving along, I'm going to go ahead and add some garlic and some seasoning. So I'm going to take approximately tablespoon or so of nice fresh minced garlic. Actually, it's a heaping tablespoon.
That is, but you like garlic.
I love garlic. Okay, so I'm going to add that in there. Scratch it in. And I'm going to add some of my seasoning. Now, again, when I buy seasoning, I'm a label checker. You definitely want to make sure you check your labels, because this one has coarse salt, spices, including black pepper and red pepper, garlic, can't have enough garlic, sunflower oil, natural flavor, and extracts of paprika. So there's no MSG in here. There's no maltodextrin, any of that stuff.
You're talking about MSG. You mentioned it earlier, and that's, and I do know that MSG is a flavor enhancer. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that if it's in your food or in your seasoning and when you're eating, it tells your body that you want more, and you could be totally full.
Exactly.
So sort of like Chinese food, ice cream. You just want more and more, and what happens is that you don't know when to stop.
Right.
And
So
that's
normally if you had that one plate of food that was going to satisfy you, add MSG into the mix, chances are you're going to eat a lot more than that one plate of food because it just tastes so good you want more.
okay. So the rule of thumb is read your labels, make sure that there isn't that MSG component in it, and what will happen is that chances are you're going to cook with it, you're going to eat what you need, and that's it.
Right.
Okay, that's a good rule of thumb.
Sure.
So read the labels.
Read the label. Always read the label.
Okay.
So we're going to check on our
Ooh, that looks good.
stuff here. Yeah, the onions are almost there. This big one right here, it's not quite caramelized, but it's getting there. The smaller ones are really starting to get there. You can see they've absorbed the wine. The red of the wine has kind of gotten them that reddish color.
I feel like everything that we're doing, as far as adding the different ingredients, is really to prepare the star of the meal, which is the liver.
It really is. And if I could get a little spoon.
Sure. Now you have arrowroot.
This is arrowroot starch or flour, and what this is used for is for thickening. And back in the day when I first started cooking liver and onions, I would add flour, just regular white flour, which did the job. However, I think a lot of your fans know that white flour is not really the best thing for you.
So the alternative is arrowroot.
Arrowroot.
And I love it because it does come from a plant.
It's completely
And
natural.
Yeah.
There's not any junk in it.
And you can use it like a flour.
Exactly.
So
Thank you.
I
I'm
like
going
it too.
to stir this up so it doesn't get all in. So this will give us our sort of a sauce. Now you can also add, one other thing you can add to this if you want is butter, or ghee.
Yeah.
Ghee would.
I have ghee if you want to try.
Ghee. If you want to, we can throw a little bit in there. That'll give it a little bit more of a creamy sauce, which I really like. Creamy sauces. They're so good with. This whole thing about my recipe with liver and onions is instead of just the fried stuff that you get at the cafeteria or that most people normally do because they just really don't know how to cook it, this comes out just so wonderfully. The texture is just, it's hard to even describe. It's so wonderful. It's not rubbery like the standard fare.
So ghee is basically clarified butter. In other words, let's take away all the junk, all the different kind of moisture that's in the butter, and what you really have is the real thing.
Why don't you go ahead and just add a teaspoon of that in there?
Okay, good enough?
I think that'll work, yeah.
My lucky.
This will just give us a
Okay, now if you don't mind, I'm gonna give it the pre-liver taste, just because I love onions. Can taste the garlic. You can taste the wine, but of course there's no alcohol because the heat has evaporated the alcohol content. Definitely, you can taste the ghee. It's a richer taste, and I would probably just eat the onions alone right now.
Can you taste any beef in there?
I can taste the beef.
Okay, good.
So I like it. It's a nice balance.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the liver and I'm going to start laying it into the pan on top of the onions. And yes, you'll see a little bit. You're still going to see a little bit of redness in the juice here, which is normal. I mean, the liver is the organ that processes all of your blood through your body. So yeah, it's going to be some blood in it.
Now, once you put the liver in, how long does it stay?
Well, what I do is I usually time things at about 7 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and can we start a timer for 7 minutes?
Sure.
And then we'll come back and look at this again and see how we're doing. I'm going to flip the liver over, and then we'll cook it for about another 6 or 7 minutes. Really, this is one of the things you really have to watch. So anyway, we'll time it, and then we'll be back in about 7 minutes.
Cool.
Okay, well, our 7 minutes is up. I'm going to check the liver, and oh yeah, it's coming along nicely. And thank you for the fork. I'm going to now flip them over, and you're going to see that you're just going to see a lot of redness coming from the liver, which is normal. So I'm flipping over the liver. It's cooking nicely right now. It's going really nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it up again. I'm going to reduce the heat down just a little bit to simmer. And let it simmer for about another 7 minutes. We'll come back and see how we're doing. Here we go.
Okay, so I just taken out my Brussels sprouts, and I want to show you that little brown. That's the caramelization. Now, this is what I love. The little leaves that didn't make it to the Brussels sprout, like a little chip. Why don't you take one? Pretty good, isn't it?
That's good.
Yep. So that's what I love about Brussels sprouts. If you need more seasoning, this is the best time to do it now that they're warm. For me, they're perfect. And again, if you have those leaves that are
Strays.
to me they're like a little chip. So if you have kids that don't like Brussels sprouts, or if you're trying to figure out a way to eat Brussels sprouts because you were traumatized as a kid, roast them and you will enjoy them. If you're looking to make Brussels sprouts chips, all you gotta do is just take out the leaves from each Brussels sprout, lay them on a parchment paper, 350, season them, and you'll get the same effect. Hey, no cheating here, you gotta wait.
Were you traumatized by Brussels sprout as a child?
Actually, I wasn't. My first time eating Brussels sprouts was probably when I was in my early 30s.
Wow.
So this is going to be part of our meal. I'm going to go ahead and get the quinoa and brown rice ready, and we're getting closer to try the liver with onions, Brussels sprouts, some gluten-free garbanzo bean tortilla wraps, and liver for the meal.
Can't wait.
So before you get started, I wanted to address one thing that's personal to me. Now, every time I talk to people about liver, all I hear is, oh, it smells. You'll know when you make liver because it smells the house. I'm in my house. We're making liver in my house, and the smell is minimal. Let me go ahead and give you my opinion why. I think number one is we're using very good natural ingredients. That's number one. I think number two, if I were to say why do people say, oh, liver smells up the house, I think it's the choice of liver. It's that difference between buying the store-bought versus something that's more organic, more grass-fed. Because again, to me, it makes a big difference. And that's just my personal opinion. There may be some other scientific reason, but in my house, I can smell and it's minimal. So I encourage you guys out there that if you decide you want to make liver with onions, buy organic or buy grass-fed. Stay away from antibiotics and hormone animals because really, think about it. You're eating what they're eating. So, and we can go through this for a long time and, it'll always be a debate. But if you do make liver and onions, try a grass-fed liver, and I'm going to tell you, you're going to send me an email and say, oh my gosh, you're right, the smell is minimal.
One other thing is the way we prepared it today too. Because a lot of people will just throw it in the pan and fry it, and that just releases everything out.
That's
and
true
what
too.
we've done is we sort of drowned it. We've given it a bath in beef bouillon and wine and a little oil and so on. But I think a lot of it also has to do with the way you prepare it.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the plates over. We're going to plate, and then we're going to keep on plating and having a nice.
So we'll see how this looks once it's plated. I think we're going to love it.
And we're rolling. We're rolling. Yes. Okay. Well, there you have it. Liver and onions, which is really good. I can't wait to sink my teeth into this one. Some gluten-free tortillas made with garbanzo beans. If you're interested, go ahead and look for the video. If not, send me an email and I'll be more than happy to send it to you. And we have some brown rice / quinoa as a grain. And again, mix them both. Nobody will know the difference. And they get a nice whole grain superfood quinoa. And roasted Brussels sprouts that can be very crunchy at times, but also very nutritious. So let's go ahead and try it.
All right, we're taking some of these home, by the way.
Okay,
sprouts.
not a problem.
Oh yeah, they look delicious.
So I'm cutting through it right now. It's very soft. And I gotta tell you, it tastes exactly the same way it tasted the first time at your home. I appreciate that taste. Mmm. What do you think? You're the chef.
Mmm. Came out really good. Really good.
The rice and the quinoa is fluffy, so I like that.
Mmm.
And let's try the Brussels sprouts. Mmm.
Mmm. Very nice compliment.
So, if I wanted to make a little sandwich, I think I would put some Brussels sprouts together. And again, in my house we like wraps. I'm gonna reach over here, sorry about that. Add a little bit of quinoa rice. And I'm gonna go ahead and add some onions. The onions are great. And a little bit of liver. Again, if you were someone that doesn't like beef, take away the liver, caramelize some onions, and you have a nice, great meal. Watch this. I don't know about you, but nothing tastes as great as anything in a wrap.
I think we have a hit.
I think we do. So being healthy on a budget is very simple. It takes one simple step at a time. For more information, or if you want to get in touch with me, contact me on Facebook. If not, send me an email, alvinjgarcia@gmail.com. Being healthy doesn't have to be a project, and it definitely doesn't have to be expensive. It only takes one simple step in the right direction.